Well, since it's not chaotic, let's just transition to this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was one gem of an episode.
I was gonna
Kind of like a pearl.
shut up, shut up. Don't even try it. Let's just do the boring transition. We'll just hit the button. Bro, I can't even fucking do it anymore.
You'll get it on the outro.
I can't even do it.
What do you mean by that?
Give me a fucking break, buddy.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
It takes two.
Ah, shit. Here we go again. Wait,
Oh shit.
you got it that time.
I did.
I got distracted by B-Real because
And then I said it takes two. Me and Ian streamed It Takes Two last night.
I actually watched a little bit of it,
Yeah.
not live, but later on I
Yeah.
clicked it and was watching it. It looks like an interesting game.
It is. It's pretty dope.
Have you beaten it before?
No.
Really?
We've
Is it
gotten
hard?
like halfway through. Yeah, it's pretty fucking hard.
Dang.
You should see the first like main boss.
Is it difficult?
Yeah.
I thought it was all mini games for some reason.
No, it's hidden mini games in it within the
Interesting.
world. It's about a mom and dad who are getting divorced and their daughter cries in some dolls and then you wake up as the dolls. And then there's this like book called the Book of Love and he like tries to help you. No, he doesn't really try to help you. But basically you're like tiny in their house. So it's like you start off like in like the garage or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a whole construction-y type of level, and then you end up outside, and it becomes like a war like type level with squirrels, like in a tree. I don't know.
Dang. That sounds like an interesting concept for a game.
There's literally a point in it where like one of you is like driving the plane, so the left side of the screen it's like the plane. And you're like making it through, and if you hit shit, it'll fuck up. And then the person on the right is doing a Mortal Kombat style fight on top of the plane with a squirrel.
Whoa.
Side scrolling, fighting,
That sounds crazy.
and it's on top of the plane. It's just the funniest shit ever. Like,
I feel like the character from this movie would just assassinate a squirrel.
yeah, she would have fucked that squirrel up. Why did she
Easily.
fuck the goose up right off the bat? I guess let's just start from the beginning of this movie.
So this movie we watched this week was
Pearl,
which is the sequel to X.
directed by Ty West.
Yep. And it was interesting in just that the sequel came out the same year as the first one.
Yeah.
And there's another one on the way.
Yeah, they put and we didn't even know this. We saw X in theaters, but Pearl's trailer was at the end of X, just like
Interesting.
Maxine's trailer was at the end of Pearl.
Was it after the credits?
Mm-hmm.
Even online? Like digital?
Yeah.
I didn't miss the credits. I thought I watched it through. I didn't think I saw a trailer for it.
Maybe it's not on the digital.
But I'm sure I could look it up online.
What, on X?
For Pearl.
Yeah.
Well, there was one at the end of it. Like a trailer for the next movie at the end of Pearl.
In theaters there was for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they did the same thing in X.
I don't think I watched past the trailer, the credits end.
Yeah.
But Pearl, you want to give the fake synopsis?
Yeah. So there's this girl named Pearl. Her husband's off at war, and her mom is pretty rough, or pretty
It's kind of mean.
pretty mean. Yeah, and Pearl had enough of her shit.
Yeah, and her dad is also like needs a lot of care.
Yeah, needs a lot of care, and and Pearl just had enough of everybody's shit. She wanted to be a star, and she lost grip a little bit.
She does lose the grip.
Yeah.
It was cool, and like this is a prequel to X, and Pearl is also in X as the old lady.
It's hard. All right, so I thought about this a lot, but like it's hard to pick one because I don't know how this movie goes without X. But then it makes me wonder.
I don't know. This movie could work without X.
It can, but how different is it? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't think it's too different, at least for me. This movie,
I think it may be different than you think.
Maybe, but like I didn't even think about her as being the old lady. Like I honestly, it's been so long that since I've seen X that I don't remember what happens.
That whole
all the way in X.
location didn't make you think of X.
I mean, yeah, that location does, but like it would have made sense the location outside of it.
Yeah.
I think Pearl has a lot more contained themes than I was expecting it to have.
No, Pearl is a completely different movie than X. Like,
And I think the themes of Pearl resonated with me more, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
in a lot of ways, like Pearl is a metaphor for like clout chasing and like wanting to become famous,
Mm-hmm.
and like the desire for celebrity,
Yeah.
and really like the desire for escapism, and like causing like that pursuit causing you to like destroy the good things that you have in your own life, not being able to like look at your home and be like, this is such a blessing. You know, like you just start to see everything as a curse that you need to get rid of. And obviously some of her life was cursed, but
Yeah. That's what makes this movie so interesting, because it's like, yeah, I get all that too, but then it's also like, damn, like how could she have stayed there? Like what other choice did she have besides going crazy? Like it's kind of like a weird mix where it's like, yeah, it's so easy to look at it of just like, oh, like, well, to me it's like I get that that's a thing, but it's actually hard to look at it of like, you know, from like the standpoint of like, oh, you should just be grateful for what you have. You know what I mean? Like I completely get why she's ungrateful, but I also get how she completely threw like everything she did have away, more or less. You know what I mean? Over like this, like, you know, she was just very naive in it. You know what I mean? Even just like, you know, and that's part of her character too. You know what I mean? Of just,
and it like that clicks with like the themes of like young people fleeing to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Like it just adds on to that. But
yeah,
I definitely agree too. Like there are like some parts of her life that are inescapable due to like the social positions she's put into, of just being like a woman that's married, her husband's at this huge war, and like feeling obligated to do certain things,
yeah,
versus becoming an outcast and living for yourself.
yeah,
And I thought the characters were really interesting too. Like the projectionist, that guy seemed. The thing that was funny is they do a lot of things in Pearl that like allude to X. So like you're expecting things to turn one way, and then they don't, because that's the way they turn in X.
when he brings up the porno movie.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, she's gonna get like involved in like making a porno.
Yeah.
But she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking that like this guy's gonna like push her to the edge of like like he's gonna manipulate her
Yeah.
and abuse her and like cause her to like spiral.
Yeah.
But that's not the case
Yeah.
either. He just sees the dead pig and he's like, this chick's crazy.
Yeah, he sees he sees all the signs, and then she brings him in there, you know, and he's hearing the noises, and she's just like kissing him over and over again.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, what's going on?" And he has to like throw her off of him and being like, "Yo, well, let's go check that. That could be your dad." Like, and then she's like, "Oh, it's a dog. Let's go outside." You know, shows him all the cows. And then he's like, "Well, what about your dog?" And she's like, "What dog?"
Dude.
And then he's like, "See you, Pearl."
Yeah. Tell me the truth. Why are you leaving me? Why?
But then it also is like, you know, like to me, that scene is like, I see this movie in so many different ways, like too, because I'm like, I do see that movie or that scene from her perspective, as far as like say she wasn't like say she didn't just kill her or like half burn her. She didn't even burn her mom too. That's the other thing too. That was like a complete accident, more or less.
And it was like probably a happy accident to her when it should have been a tragic
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah. And she did just throw her down the fucking stairs, and the dad was just staring at her. But I'm getting lost. But I thought it was interesting, like, because from her standpoint at the beginning, it's like, I don't know, if that was innocent, it is just like, it is a good commentary on, like, you know, the way guys are kind of like that with girls. You know what I mean? A sense of just like, I'm kind of into you, kind of not. You know what I mean? That's a very common thing. You know what I mean? Like of, you know, oh wait, you're not
Lead you
into me
on,
anymore. You
like
know?
kind of lead you on and then.
Yeah. You know, to where I'm like, that's what makes this movie like so interesting. And that's what makes Pearl a great character, because there is like some relatability to her emotions, even though the story around her is like completely fucking crazy.
Yeah,
You know,
she has like some like delusions of grandeur.
yeah, but that's why she's like an iconic character. That's why she's on TikToks. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
definitely.
why people share her quotes, and even Maxine from X, you know, is basically like a mirror of her. You know, like
In a lot of ways.
60 years later or whatever.
Dude, and not even talking about like the themes and like the characters, just like the way they presented gore in this movie was really interesting. Like the
Yeah.
really saturated red for blood.
Dude,
Like
I mean,
that like when she's like spoilers, when she stabs that guy that the projectionist she's talking to, and like he's just like bright red just blurting out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa, this movie it reminds me of like Technicolor, like brightness, like
Yeah.
that time period.
no. This movie is, I mean, it takes a lot of like, it has, I mean, he has to like want to allude to Dorothy and Wizard of Oz in this a lot, you know, especially her with the scarecrow and shit like that. Like, there's so much shit that just reminds me of like Wizard of Oz in this, and the colors of it are so great. Like, even just the way the movie starts out, seeing that farm, like in those colors was so cool to me. Like, even comparing it to X, like,
Well, and like the farm had so much life too, because it had animals.
Yeah.
and like
It
was
wasn't
growth.
old,
It
yeah.
wasn't like grown over.
in X, it seems like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like,
Yes.
oh, this is like a kind of creepy, rundown, you know, shitty front door kind of farm, you know. But in this, it was like, oh, this is like this beautiful, like, yeah, just like movie set, you know. I don't know, like,
It did feel like a movie set, and like that's the one part with the guy when he visited. He's like, honestly, this is like a pretty nice spot. Like, he's like, I know like you have to do like a lot for your family, and that sucks, but like this is like a good piece of land.
oh, he says that, the projectionist.
Yeah, he's like, it's not too bad here, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think he's also like trying. Dude, the one thing that was sending me is that she's like, "Will you take me to Europe?" And it's like, bro, that's where your husband is. Like, there's a war going on there.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it supposed to be World War II?
Yeah. No, it's World War One. It's like 1920.
Okay. Well, I mean, either way. Either
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Both the World Wars were over
Yeah.
there. Unless it was supposed to be the Korean War or like a Vietnam. I don't know what year is it?
No, it is. It was like
Yeah, because in X they
Yeah.
mentioned like all of the guys are gone,
yeah.
and like that's
I think it was in France.
Oh, right, because they're talking about Germans.
Yeah.
It's World War II for sure.
Yeah.
Then,
No. Germany's part of World War One.
yeah, I mean they're both part of both.
Yeah. It was World War One. It
But
was
it-
1920.
Okay. The Nazis took Paris at one point. I don't know.
Yeah, I used to know I used to like history back in the day. I used to love World Wars too. Like, that was the one thing I considered myself like
An expert on?
not an expert, but like I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't fail those. You know what I mean? I didn't not like I failed every history thing, but like I just remembered like doing exceptionally well when it came to World War One and Two, and now I don't remember shit. But
Yeah. No, I get it.
that was also like 5th grade.
I was wondering why the projectionist was in there though. Like, why was he
Why was he what?
not drafted?
Oh, I don't know. But they mentioned at one point, oh, like, because remember the one girl was like, oh, Howard, he just had to go. We had a doctor that could have, you know, like, got him as ineligible or whatever. And
The one thing that all right, so that whole speech confused the hell out of me. Not
What?
the total hell out of me, but like when she has the friend from the audition over at the house,
the monologue.
and she's going on and on and on. Like, I was like, wait, what perspective is she talking about? Like, and I don't know.
Well, it's part of the delusion of it, you know, and that's part of the brilliance of this. You know what I mean? It's part of her delusion. That monologue is so crazy. Like,
Dude, I also just love before the audition. It has to be me.
you've heard about that monologue before going into it, right?
I
Like,
knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it was gonna happen during the audition.
Okay.
But the audition was crazy too.
The audition.
She just like smiling so big.
Yeah.
She
She's really interesting. Like that like, you know, it's I know it's easy, like, I haven't seen a lot of her other stuff, but I feel like there's a lot of people that come out and like are like called really good actors for seemingly like maybe stuff that's like, okay, like I I don't know if this is really that, but her, I mean, I loved X, I loved her in X, but her and Pearl, I'm like, holy shit, this is really like, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely felt different. Like I can't think of like another performance or character like Pearl.
Also, she had to carry this movie like on her own. You know what I mean? Like this was like I mean, there is, you know what I mean, under 10 characters in the movie.
Yeah, I could think of there's the projectionist,
The mom,
the dad, the friend,
the friend's mom for 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Not even. You see her in the background.
and then
actually.
like the husband
Yeah, the husband for 7 seconds,
a
literally
few
at the
times,
end.
like the same 7 seconds.
Yeah, and that's really it. Besides some like random people in town.
Yeah, I mean she held it down.
Yeah, she had to do this whole movie damn near by herself. Like, oh, the casting people and stuff. That was.
Yeah, but even one of those wasn't one of them the mom.
I don't think so. No, because none of their moms knew about it.
Like, what? But didn't they have like a bloodied lady sitting there, like yelling at her for some of it?
Yeah, yeah. The mom came through to that. Yeah, it was like a vision of
That's
it.
what I was
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Like, so even she was a part of the casting teams at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like how I don't know. There's just a lot of set piece time stuff that was interesting, and it felt like a different take on a war movie. Like we get lots of World War II movies, but rarely do we see things from like then back in the States.
Okay, so you praised Glass Onion for its COVID inclusion. What do you think about them flipping the like flu from the 1920s into that?
I thought it was interesting, but I got confused.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I got it after a second, but I was like,
But when you see the mask, you were like, wait, were they actually wearing masks back then?
no, I was mostly like, I thought maybe she was trying to like hide the fact that she was a woman or her identity.
No.
That was my first thought, and then it put it together.
Yeah, because the mom was pretty strict about germs and.
Yeah. Was the mom seemed like she was probably a German immigrant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Did they
Yeah.
explicitly say that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they say how hard it is for German farmers after the war too.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, and she also must have people back home who are probably like dying.
Yeah, she also said, I don't want to hear about any more dead Germans tonight because she was
Yeah.
trying to.
Whereas like Mia Goth's character, who's like born in America, is like, fuck the Germans, you know?
Yeah.
Like we want to win this war, and I'm sure she's like in some ways conflicted about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and then the husbands and the war fight. That's a whole nother layer I didn't even think about of just like the mom not giving a shit that husband comes back or like doesn't want them to win necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Or is like conflicted on whether they win or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother layer to it.
Not definitely. Bro, it's still just hilarious that she was like, damn, I didn't get this one part. It's over for everybody. Like, it's over for my career.
Well, no. The mom was already burnt in the basement.
Man,
the projectionist.
It's like 100 years ago. She could have just burnt them and been like, yeah, mom and dad, they just head for the coast. I don't know where they went.
Yeah, she ran off.
They didn't leave me like a phone number or anything to like, but they drove. They like,
number.
Her aunt or her sister picked her up.
You know what really pissed me off in this movie?
What?
Why did she put that damn car in the water? She could have drove that thing. She killed the projectionist and then threw his car in the water.
Well,
I was thinking that too. I'm like, well, he did have plates on it, and I was like, wait, did they have plates in 1920?
I feel like they not only I don't know if they did have plates, but if they did have
no,
plates,
it had plates on it.
I'm sure like there was a limited enough number of cars in that small town that they'd be like, oh, that's Jim the projectionist vehicle. I noticed it by the ding on that wheel.
True. True. I was just thinking, I'm like, she could have drove that shit to the audition. But yeah, that one.
It's in X, isn't it?
What?
Don't they like see the car in X for a second?
Maybe.
If there's like a crash car
Maybe.
in like that jungle or in the lake or something like that.
Maybe. I don't remember, but.
That was my like. I was like, oh, they're set. They just set that up. for X.
No, the way they focus on that car and then the croc coming in to eat the body, like
That was nice.
it made me think too. I'm like, yeah, like it made me think that they focused on that just a little too long, to where it's like. But I don't specifically remember it being an X, but I don't see why it wouldn't be an X.
I love when she feeds the alligator.
Whenever that scene's happening, when she's like actually like chopping up like the parts at the end, and it's like double screening it, and like I was wondering, I was like, man, Stevie's probably like,
I had to look away a few times. I get squeamish.
Yeah, I was like, this is pretty gruesome, and the color of it was just made it worse.
I liked that effect though. That was cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where they go with this. I think they've done a good job, like expanding on the slasher.
Yeah, and both of them too. You know what I mean? Like X, Pearl is so interesting. Pearl is so cool, but the one thing I just remember thinking is like, I don't want this to like, I don't want this to sway away from the fun I had from X. You know what I mean? I don't want to forget about X because of Pearl. Pearl being like this very.
So, do you think you put Pearl over X?
I made them both my number one last year.
I remember.
Remember? Like, yeah, I include them together, even though they're so vastly different. And it makes me even more excited for Maxine, because Maxine is going to be like the fucking, I feel like that's going to be like it's just going to be the 80s. It's going to be a whole different vibe. It's got to be like almost like just some really chaotic shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I kind of wish it was going to be called Violet, though. Because then it all 3 different Pokemon generations. X, Pearl, and Violet.
What if the next Pokemon generation is Maxine?
Oh, foreshadowing.
What if they just don't do like 2? They just do Pokemon Maxine. That's it.
Yeah. You could only be Maxine. The Pokemon trainer.
Wow.
Oh, Pokemon. But yeah, honestly, I didn't expect to like Pearl as much as I did, or like as much as I liked X.
Really?
It's cool. Well,
I was gonna say, I've been wondering because you hadn't seen it yet. You know what I mean? Like you've heard. I mean, have you heard bad things about this movie? Was there anything that made you not want to see this movie?
I just missed the window to see it, and I think it came out in the summer.
September.
I don't know why I didn't see it then. I just missed the window when it was in theaters, and then it didn't come to rental for like a long time.
Yeah. So there's no real reason you didn't see it. You just kind of
forgot. Well, then I also got burnt out on Halloween stuff around the time. Like, I watched a lot of Halloween movies this year. And so by the time it was available for rental, I was in Christmas mode, and I was like, I can't see blood and gore. But now I'm in the middle of the winter, and blood and gore make me happy.
Yeah, I want to see Violent Night. That one's available now. Megan is on Vudu.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I wonder if Megan was like, you know what, we made our money. Let's just make all the other money.
Bro, I feel like it was probably like they signed a deal to like put it on there early, and now they're like, well, we already were made out, so out good.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how that works. Like, I wonder what the contracts say about like when it goes to Fandango at home or whatever. Like.
Yeah.